Michael, what's your view of these feuds?
You know, I love every one of these gentlemen. I think they're extraordinary people. JaVale used to play for the Wizards, and I was there, know his mother, an extraordinary woman. I love Shaq, one of the all-time greats. What are you going to say? Now, at the beginning, it's funny. You're picking fun. That's cool. After a while, you got to say, then you're teasing, and now you're bullying. And I love Shaq. And I think what he's doing is so important on television as he did on the court. But I think JaVale McGee's bottom line could be affected if people perceive him as a ne'er-do-well who's a goofball who can't get it together. Fortunately, the Warriors came out, I think, is very extraordinary and said, hey, we stand by this guy. What he's doing is extremely important, and he's fitting in very well on that team. I was at that game where Kevin Durant unfortunately got hurt. And JaVale McGee is a strong presence. So I would love to see Shaq and him make up. And I'm glad the mamas got involved, you know. Black mama put her foot down, that's it, bruh. You're not doing anything else. In terms of Paul Pierce, again, one of the all-time greats, played for the Wizards for a while and made a tremendous contribution. Draymond Green is an extraordinary figure. Last time I checked, they both have one ring. So there's no ability of Paul Pierce to weigh in such a negative fashion about the ultimate consequence of Draymond Green's game. Draymond Green is the heart and soul of the Warriors. He is the heart through which they pump. Yeah. He gives them inspiration. He's getting in Kevin Durant's face and saying, that's not how we play ball here. He is organizing that team in such a way. So I disagree with Mr. Pierce's assessment of what's going on with Draymond Green. Draymond Green would be good for any team, and no team is better than the talent around it and the ability to lift them simultaneously, which is why when y'all had your previous segment, when we talk about LeBron James, put my man Kobe Bean Bryant up in the spot. Put my man Kobe Bean Bryant
I knew
up
you were
in the
get
spot.
that in. You got it.
Wait a minute. I gotta talk about Kobe in that sense, no doubt.
Why does it seem that when it comes to athletes, that it's a lot of the black being pitted against each other? Yeah. You and I both know we've had conversation. This goes back to where the light skins were in the house,
right,
and the darker skin was in the field.
That's right.
So this really started the.
Oh yeah. There's no question that there's an antagonism. And I talk about it. I hate to be self-referential, but I got a whole chapter in my book, Tears We Cannot Stop, in the chapter called Our Own Worst Enemy, where I deal with the very things you're talking about. Gay versus straight, light versus dark, rich versus poor. We had a comedian going around this country 10, 15 years ago beating up on poor black people. And a lot of people said, oh, he's so smart, until his own trials and traumas revealed that he was a bit more hypocritical. My Bible tells me, be careful about the grave you dig for somebody else. You might fall in it yourself. But we also know that, yes, going back to enslavement, black strong men pitted against each other. We like to see that gladiatorial contest. Now, it works to our advantage when we only look at a sports spectacle and see them play. That's beautiful. But to see the ugly internecine squabbles, to see the personal attacks and the failure to appreciate, just because you're great doesn't mean I can't be great. And we can both acknowledge each other in our greatness.
Yes.
And I think, unfortunately, it plays to the galleys, and that occurs. But at the same time, that competitive edge sees no color. I mean, but we don't see Tom Brady going after Peyton Manning in the same way, right? Because Tom's won that argument. But what's interesting, and I say this as a person who was not a fan of the Patriots, you can say what you want, Tom Brady is a monster. Yeah. But what's interesting, it seems to me, is that kind of fueling of an antipathy between us is unfortunate. When we talk about black-on-black crime, which is a misnomer when it comes in the hood, because look, 3% of black people who are killed by black people, but 84% of white people who are murdered by white people. So people kill where they live. If you want integrated killing, you have to have integrated communities. Right. So the reality is, bottom line, the people hurt those who are nearest to them. So we see some of that going on here, but at the same time, I think that these strong, intelligent black men ought to be able to resolve their differences and say, hey, that's what I loved about Jordan. That's what I loved about Kobe. They were competitive. They wanted to hurt you. They would cut your mother's heart out to win. But they're not going to engage any nasty tips in public about he said and she said. They're too great. They're above that.
Because can't two things be true? Can't Paul Pierce be great and Draymond Green be great without you trying to put me down while propping yourself up?
Exactly right. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that we both can exist in our own lane, do what we want to do. I mean, and to see Draymond Green, you should be celebrating the next generation. You should be saying, a lot of us fear displacement. Oh my God, the next person coming along will somehow marginalize me. Can't nobody outdo you. You can't out Shannon Sharpe. You can't out Skip Bayless. You can't out Joy. She brings the joy every day. That's why y'all are very peaceful on this set. So the beauty is...
hater sometimes.
But she's a selective hater, and it's Women's History Month, and she can hate like she wants. But the reality is that we don't have to attack and assault and beat down and bemoan each other. But often we do so because it makes good headlines, it makes good press, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it undermines the franchise for all of us.
For once, I'm enjoying this so much and I'm so enlightened, I don't even want to speak. I just want to listen.
No, you got to chime. You got to chime in. You got to chime in.
You are Skip Bayless.
Back to Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have nothing but respect for him.
Love him.
And it stunned me that this went so far over the edge because Shaq is literally and figuratively so much bigger than JaVale is that it's just beneath his dignity, his Hall of Fame dignity, as great offensive force as we've ever seen. Not the prettiest to watch, I'm not saying that, but just as devastating an offensive force as I've ever witnessed on a basketball court.
Right.
How did it go over the line and over the edge? Because I would think Shaq would, again, we both thought that it just got a little old after a while, where he just, once it was funny, maybe twice it was funny, and 3 times that's a little much.
Yeah.
And yet, somehow when JaVale fired back at him on Twitter, and somehow it got to that word I cannot speak that you brought up.
Right.
The animal with the ring around his eye and around his tail.
When it got there, then Shaq's button was pushed, and it got mean-spirited, and it got ugly fast. And as you say, it took the mothers to finally put a stop to it. And what Pamela McGee said publicly was absolutely eloquent and devastatingly, I thought, enlightening about the whole situation. And she got to the point she had to call for Shaq's job.
Right.
But I don't get why it got there on Shaquille's behalf of this. It's like he's, right?
It's unfortunate. And the thing is, and you're right, Shaquille O'Neal, and as a personality, one of the sweetest, most affable, most amiable guys, big teddy bear. He's amazing, right? And the thing is that JaVale McGee is a gnat. On your hindsight, so to speak. But he's an extraordinary young man.
He is.
He's a beautiful young man. His mother's a wonderful woman. And I understand the defensiveness about him to protect him and to bring the mother to bear, even though people say, well, that reinforces the whole position that you're somebody who needs it. No, because Shaq's mother stepped in too. And I think they brought the wisdom. What Shannon was saying earlier, sometimes we are encouraged as black men to hate on each other in a way to not acknowledge each other's greatness, to say that you want to choose this person. It's either Malcolm or Martin. No, it's both. Both of them are necessary to fuel the energy of emancipation for our community. And I think here, Shaq, you are too big. You're above the fray in that sense. But 2 things. Competition can never be underestimated. One of the greatest world-class athletes we have ever seen. You, one of the analysts, both of you, so you know the energy. Michael Jordan would fight you, literally, over some issues. Now, it didn't get shown in public, but that's the competitive edge that led to their advantage in the world. Sometimes that gets out of hand. And then let's not forget, if we're going to talk about black culture, they're playing the dozens. I mean, the dozens are being played rhetorically. They just moved from the street yard to Twitter, but that can't occur. Right? That can't occur.
So I just thought the thing is, okay, you want to do a prepackaged tape of the guy's follies, okay, fine. I don't understand how that's critiquing and analyzing his play.
Right.
But then you go out of line and then you hashtag bum ass.
Right.
Okay, where is that funny and how is that critique or analyze his play?
Yeah, it's taking it too seriously. And again, as I was saying earlier, you may be compromising my man's ability to make a living. I mean, in fun, in jest, that's one thing. To compromise his ability to contribute to his family, that's a different story altogether. And I think we got to keep those things in perspective as we exercise our right to free speech, but you got to be responsible with that free speech, and you got to understand the impact you make. I think Shaq has probably been reminded of just how influential his rhetoric is, and that he's doing something that's extremely important. And again, the book I read says the tongue has the issues of life and death, and so you can give life or you can distribute death. And I think in this case, the distribution of death was exposed. You went too far. Let's bring it back in and then celebrate each other.
Yeah, you have to have a line, and that was obviously crossed.